Wow, I just got out of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and it is bananas. Guys, I can't think of a crazier, more offbeat, less formulaic movie that Marvel has done. This is honestly uh, one of the most original, in my opinion. It's directed by Sam Raimi and starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen. Obviously, if you haven't been hiding under a rock and you've witnessed all the promotion that they've done for this movie already, you look. It's the most polarizing movie that Marvel's ever done for sure. You're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. If you are a fan of Sam Raimi, like I was, then you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Uh, I mean, just speaking from a point as a guy who used to be a 10-year-old kid, reading Tales from the Crypt and watching Army of Darkness and the Evil Dead movies. This is the movie that I've been waiting for probably my entire life. It is equal parts creepy and so campy in the right style and still a big action blockbuster. They got so much right by doing this, but I get it. Not everyone's gonna feel this way. You know, this is not a movie that was made for everybody. It's very much a PG-13 horror action adventure type of movie. Honestly, if Universal Studios is listening right now, some exec or coffee boy from there is listening to this, hire Sam Raimi to do Van Helsing and reboots Van Helsing for you, because that's how you do an action adventure movie with horror elements in it. It was fantastic, like fucking chef kiss. And I think it's also important to know that it's just so incredibly difficult to make a movie like this in live action, like to bring this comic to screen. Like, I'm not going to try to dismiss the Batman movies at all, but there's a reason we've had successful Batman movies since 1989. It is much easier to pull off a gritty comic hero that's set in reality than it is to bring to life something like Doctor Strange, which has always been kind of trippy and just bizarre in nature. The stories are always very strange. I mean, going back all the way to the Steve Ditko years, even to now, with when Jason Aaron just had his run on it, and it was really weird and kind of strange how he would do. How I don't even remember who the artist was, but how the artist would draw the panels kind of off balance and almost off the page in a way. They were able to bring that quality and that feel to live action not once but twice now. The first Doctor Strange was a little too formulaic for me. I'm gonna admit that I didn't like it very much. I was expecting a lot more creepy horror from Scott Derrickson, and instead we got kind of a kung fu movie mixed with Inception, and it followed the same basic beats that most Marvel movies did at the time, and it just didn't. It wasn't really for me. I'd seen that movie before, and it didn't bring anything new to the table, which was a little sad because I think Doctor Strange is one of the more interesting characters in the Marvel Pantheon. This film, which, by the way, you do not need to see the first one to watch. They give you all the tidbits that you need to where that movie's practically an afterthought. This movie breaks formula. It breaks the Marvel mold, and it's so very much that director's movie. Sam Raimi brings about all of his bag of tricks as far as scares go, everything that we've seen from him in the past, the Three Stooges style humor, the action, the one-liners, the Danny Elfman with an amazing score that I'm just a huge fan of, and brought the humor just in musical cues in and of itself. I thought was fantastic. It's I can't gush about how unique this movie was to the director. This is the first time I feel like we've really gotten that. I mean, sure, we had Taika and James Gunn kind of do their thing too, and they definitely brought a lot of their own personality to their films, and they were the first ones to kind of start breaking said mold. But then, all the movies that Marvel was putting out started kind of copying them, and that became the new formula. I don't think anyone is going to try to touch this. I don't think anyone can make this other than Sam Raimi. And I'm so happy for him. So happy that he was able to get such a big budget and play with his horror elements the way he wants to in it. I mean, it had aspects of the Evil Dead series, of Dark Man, even The Quick and the Dead, and Spider-Man 2. Some of the shots and the way he filmed certain effects were very reminiscent of Spidey's battle with Doc Ock in a lot of those scenes. Um, Without spoiling too much, there is an obscene amount of references and cameos. I mentioned earlier that you don't have to watch the first Doctor Strange movie, and I stand by that. But if you're thinking about going to see this movie, for the love of God, please watch WandaVision. If anything else, watch WandaVision. That's going to be really the only thing you're going to need going into this to really just understand everything that's happening and why it's happening. Which brings me to who I think the standout of the film was, and that's Elizabeth Olsen. Everyone's doing a great job. I mean, Cumberbatch is doing a great job. His American accent has gotten way better since the first Doctor Strange movie. I actually believe it now versus before. I was struggling real hard. But Elizabeth Olsen puts on a performance that's both tragic and terrifying. And they waste no time setting that up. She tells you what she wants almost immediately, and the action and the threat of the Scarlet Witch just kick off right from jump. There's almost no setup for it. They give you a small conversation, and then she's just like, all right, I'm coming for what's mine. It's incredible. I really enjoyed every bit of what she did, and I was really surprised that I liked a movie that was so CGI heavy. It's my biggest criticism of these kind of movies, of the MCU movies in particular, and it didn't bother me in this because it just kind of fit. The even like some of the big CGI monsters felt like a little more textured, felt a little more real. There's a opening scene with one in particular that I thought was way better than anything they did in Shang-Chi, which was a very recent Marvel movie. I'm not even going to bag on Eternals anymore. I think I've done that to death, so I'll just leave that one out of it. But, I mean, the film I thought looked fantastic. There was awesome scares. I mean, he pulls from everything. You get some of like that bone crunching kind of like awkward walking thing that the Ring made so famous, and actually he was doing it before they were, way before they were. But you get a little bit of that. You get a little bit of the jump scares. Similar to like The Conjuring and stuff. Like he plays really well with that. And again, going back to Elizabeth Olsen, there is a scene in this movie where she is just tearing through people. and stepping on glass and moving in like a hurt but like determined way, and it's so reminiscent of the best slashers, of the very first Terminator. She's an unstoppable force that's going to keep coming, and all our heroes can do is run and try to throw obstacles in her way. There's no showdown where they're trying to stand toe to toe. They are afraid, and as an audience, we feel that as well. It's truly incredible to see. On a fun note, Sam Raimi loves to throw his brand of humor in there. It's macabre, it's weird, it's gross. Like, this movie's really gross. Like, there's a lot of gore in it, to a point where I audibly said in the movie, "What was this rated again?" Because I thought it kind of, as far as violence goes, I thought it was, really rated R. Like, I thought it could have been. It reminded me a lot of Drag Me to Hell, which is a great movie of his that I think is completely underrated, and more people should definitely check out, especially after this film. I'm literally going to walk over to my shelf and pop it in the Blu-ray player and enjoy it until I fall asleep, because this movie reminded me so much of that one, especially with what Sam was able to do with the camera and the different shots that he took. We do get some Bruce Campbell, as is custom in a Sam Raimi movie, and it's a really great cameo. It's a lot of fun. I think most horror fans will really enjoy it. There's some fourth wall breaking by a couple characters, and which is really great. That's a lot of Evil Dead in there. There are some big reveals for the future, and I'll just leave it at that. Some people are going to get really excited about what's to come, assuming that we meet these characters again with the multiverse. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it without spoiling too much. I am thinking about releasing a spoiler video maybe a week from now, where I get to really talk in depth about all the different things that I really liked about it in detail, because I really want to get into it. There's so much fan service and little nods and stuff that the geeks in the comic shop will totally get, right? Like, it seems weird nowadays to think about it, because everyone watches Marvel movies and stuff, and everyone is a fan in some way of a superhero movie. But this used to be something that we got made fun of for, that some kids after school would talk about with their friends of the possibilities of what if they could make this and what if they could make that. Well, now they're making these movies, and they're pulling them off really successfully. Some people will obviously always nitpick or dislike a movie, and that's fine. That's within their right to do so. But I've been enjoying the ride. I especially enjoyed just how unique this movie was. This is definitely my favorite of the sequels as far as the MCU is concerned. So far, I don't know, it might be a personal favorite overall. It's a cult movie with a blockbuster budget. And I think as time goes on, people will kind of come around to it being the one that they watch the most, just because how fun and enjoyable it all was. Before I forget, there are 2 post-credit scenes, so stay all the way until the end. You've been warned. There's 2. Don't drink too much soda. You gotta stay for the long haul. Alright? So with that being said, comes down to my rating. Do I rate this, go to the theater, stream it, or pass? And the answer is, go to the theater, man. It's an MCU movie. They are made to be watched on the big screen. I, for one, will be headed back this Tuesday. Do not bother me. That's what I'll be doing. I can't wait to watch it again and have a blast with it again. And with that, thank you. This has been another Rooster Reviews. I am your host, Omi Rios. Please give a like and subscribe. And thanks again for taking a trip with me to the movies.